Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to the Element Podcast. What's happening, all my woods people? KC, it's hot, dude.
Truthfully, though, like, it's not too terribly bad.
It's not. I was surprised.
It is way warmer than where we've been.
Yes.
But it's not like the sweltering Texas death heat that we're used to this time of year. So, if you would like to, put it in perspective, it can get way worse than this. It probably will, too.
It probably will. There was a report, weather report, when I was looking at coming home, and it was supposed to be, it literally was a 10-day, and the lowest was 99.
Oh, good.
And that was supposed to, the last day was the day we were coming back this weekend. And apparently, everybody told me it only got to 100 one day.
Oh, party.
And it hasn't been too bad yet.
Yeah.
So that's good, I guess, for people that were here. But I haven't seen anything above 85, I feel like, all year.
I was trout fishing in 92 the other day.
Really?
That's kind of weird.
Oh, I guess I was too on the South Platte. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty warm there in Colorado.
It's a different 92.
Oh, much different.
Much different. Your sweat actually works for you.
Yeah.
The evaporation, perspiration thing happens. It's kind of crazy.
Dude, it is. It's so much different. I think I spoke to this a couple weeks ago, but Death Valley was just... It was 103 when we were there, and I was like, okay. This ain't
Big deal, right?
Yeah, this ain't nothing. I mean, I'd rather see this than 85 at home.
Something y'all might be noticing is that the audio between Tyler and I is pretty similar. We are actually sharing a couch right now.
We are.
It's crazy.
Dude, it's been a minute. We haven't, it's been since June 14th, 15th, somewhere in there probably. Yeah. And so we have been traveling a lot, and I think if you've been listening, you've heard. I guess you heard the first quarter or half or whatever of my trip, and then you knew KC was going to be on his trip, so he did that. Was it 9 or 10 days?
9 days, but not all of it was the fun trip. Some of it's just the driving.
Yeah. There's that for sure. That's how we got towards the end, but I guess kind of what we want to lay out today is that I'm gonna finish up telling the story of my trip because there was just so many cool things. Casey's going to tell about his trip a little bit because neither one of us have heard about it. We've been kind of in the backcountry and in and out of service and just haven't talked.
I got a text from Tyler, which I don't know when it came in because I was just in and out of service so much. But he said, "Hey, don't look at my latest post on social media." It's like, okay.
Yeah. I was going to ask we have a top fans group on Facebook for the people that have the top fans badge. We've got this little secret group or whatever. And I was going to ask them the other day, I was like, should we ask them, is it weird that we hide stuff from each other? But I think it's way more fun, it's way more exciting because I'd rather do that than pregame everything and know exactly what you're about to say.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is also hard at times because we created another Facebook group my wife did for the family, and we had a lot of people follow it, and we just posted randomly as we got through the trip, and I was like, I'm about to post a picture of a fish, and I don't want KC to see it. So anyway, that way we'll have some good, exciting stuff to talk about. But I guess I'll just dive right in, man. We're gonna also talk about hunting because it's hitting us in the face right now.
Man, it is crazy how first of all, the trip was kind of a warm up for it because I saw a lot of really big antlered things. Things have stuff on their head right now, and it's crazy. And now it's time to get back here and find the ones that are here.
I don't think I saw an elk or even a deer with much antler on its head at all. The whole time. I didn't see an elk. I know that.
Y'all, you didn't see an elk on your trip?
I did not see an elk on the trip.
Whoa.
How wild is that?
That is not even in. Okay, well. Okay.
I mean, I was driving, dude. I was driving. And so, when you're driving, you can't quite look out the window all the time because if you do, you might run off the mountain and then your whole family's in the truck, So, not a good thing. And then the rest of my family are just not going to see elk like you or I probably would, So, they're not looking for it. They're on Instagram. So, anyway. But we took off. We were heading to embark on this trip for 28 days, 4 weeks straight up. And I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly where I left off, but it's somewhere.
I can tell you that you were in Scottsdale, Flagstaff,
Yep.
Arizona, and you told me everything through that.
Okay.
But maybe give us a recap as to what you did.
So quickly, we left. We went to Carlsbad Caverns the next day, which is in New Mexico. Awesome place, worth the trip if you ever wanting to go to the middle of nowhere. And then went up to the Gila, checked on things there, and made sure that the elk was still tied up that you're going to shoot this year.
Did you give him some water?
I did. I gave him a little bit out of the West Fork of the Gila. I caught a Gila trout there in the West Fork, and that was really awesome. It was about a 13, 14 incher. So, it was. I usually when I go to catch like some rare native trout, I'm like, all right, we're looking for a 4 incher here, you know. And this was a pretty awesome. I had the half weight out, and it was a nice fight, you know.
Yeah.
Released the video of that portion of the trip recently, so if you haven't seen it, go to YouTube, check that out. It's going to be part of a series where I lay out like every couple of days what's going on with my trip, and it's I worked really hard on it. It's got a budget and everything. It shows you how much we spent, where we went, a little map stuff. You know, it shows what directions we were heading and how long the trip was. And
it's from an observer, it's pretty dang intricate. It's like pretty detailed. I was impressed.
Dude. Thanks.
It was cool.
Yeah, I got to put that together on the last few days of my trip. I had most of it put together, but I finished it up in the hotels in the last couple of days. And then, anyway, so we left from the Gila. Dude, it's going to get real fuzzy here. But we saw like 7 national parks, and none of those are in the Rockies, I don't think.
Yeah.
So we saw, after that, we saw Grand Canyon. We saw Petrified Forest, and what's the other one that's there? I can't remember it. There's another. They're like Painted Desert is the other one. And then went over to Death Valley, which I thought was going to be pretty lame and hot, and like hopefully we were going to not be stressing about gas and stuff like that, you know. And it was one of the coolest places I've ever been.
Yeah.
Like I will go back in the wintertime and like do night photography and stuff like that sometime. And
I've always wondered, does it feel weird in Death Valley? Because you're like, how far are you below sea level?
You can get to I think we were at like 252 at one point. I think you can get to like 270 or 80.
So aren't you like, you're like at an inverse atmosphere almost, right? To where like the atmosphere is so thick, I would think.
You would think, but it's just still so arid.
Yeah.
Like it's thicker here in East Texas at 412 feet or whatever, you know. So I thought the same thing would happen.
Did your chip bags go real tight?
We didn't notice that because we didn't. Let's see, we weren't really below sea level for long.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that's why we didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But you dip down into the actual valley, and you're in like the negative, you know, footage or whatever, and then I don't know, 30 minutes later of driving and sightseeing and stuff, you're back up. I mean, 45 minutes later, I was at 4,000 foot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was 83 degrees, and it felt awesome.
Yeah.
You know? And it was still desert, you know, but it was just, there's Joshua trees. There's actually, like, one of, if not the rarest fish in the world. It's
like
some kind of
sucker?
It's like a blue, I want to say goby, but I don't know if that's right. But its home range is 112 square feet or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
It lives in like a pool in the desert.
Yeah.
That's spring fed.
There's something like that in Texas too. Not quite as small, but like I'm pretty sure there's a fish in Balmorhea that only exists in Balmorhea.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody will back me up on that or fact check me, but yeah, that's like a couple that are that way.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man.
That's cool.
I wanted to go see them. They're like bright blue.
Yeah.
And so, but you have to go like on a trail, and it was hot, and we had kids.
Can you bring a fishing pole? Like, it would be pretty cool to say you caught the rarest fish ever.
You don't even know how much I've thought about it, but I'm pretty sure there's no fish in there.
Yeah.
So they don't want you to kill off the last bit of the population.
Yeah, probably not.
But
your Phigenophilus just killed every fish. So, sorry.
They are gone. So, yeah, it was cool. Death Valley was awesome. I suggest going there if you're ever in the area, I guess you'd say. I mean, all that Southwest stuff is so remote. Went up to the Sierra range out of there, and we couldn't get over any passes really, like
because there's so much snow.
This is late June, and there was like the pass going into like Yosemite was open 2 hours a day, and it wasn't when we were there. So we camped on the east side of the Sierras, and it was one of our favorite campgrounds, but it was also one of the colder campgrounds we've been in.
Yeah.
Saw Mount Whitney, which is like the biggest mountain in the lower 48. It's like 14.6 or something. Went up the eastern side of the Sierras.
That's all in California still, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All in California. And then we got to I wanted to catch, I would have loved to have caught a native golden trout. I'm just a weird native fish freak. But I didn't get a chance to do that. They're pretty remote, hard to get to in the actual like endemic ranges. And then I wanted to catch a lahontan, and really didn't even. I got to fish one stream for the lahontan, and I think I might have even talked about all this. So I'm sorry if I have, but it's been crazy busy. But I caught that huge brown trout in the
You
place.
told that story. I think.
So
yes.
yeah, and then so
It
from
was a
there,
tank.
Oh my gosh, I was freaking out, dude.
I saw somebody commented "fish of a lifetime" on a picture or something.
Really?
They posted about that.
It was, man. I mean, I've been fly fishing and just regular, conventional fishing for trout for a long time. It's the biggest one I've caught. Which I try to go to places where the trout are small sometimes too. So which is the next place I went, which was off of Mount Shasta, which is a volcano in Northern California, kind of north of Redding. And I caught native red bands up there, which are the McLeod strain. So there's like a McLeod, a Colombian, and there's two different, like around the Colombian basin stuff. I can't remember what the two distinctions are, and then the McLeod. And so I caught that, which was cool. I've been wanting to do that. There's only a couple of streams in the world where you can do that. Went up from there to... and I'm missing stuff, I know, but went to Oregon, stayed with my parents. We kind of had planned this whole thing out so that we would be like 2 weeks or so into it, and we would be in Oregon where they had rented a beach house for like 3 nights, and we were going to stay with them and Chris and Jamie, our some of our buddies, and then brother and sister-in-law and just the whole family, So that was awesome. We spotted several gray whales every day from the beach house.
That's cool.
It was really cool. You could see you would be looking out there for a few minutes, and all of a sudden this eruption would come out, just like poof, when you could see them blow a hole up,
Yeah.
And then their tail would come up afterwards, and it was really neat. Saw seals, saw a huge giant Pacific octopus, and got some pictures of it.
Cool.
So you'll be seeing that on Instagram soon. Hung out for a few days there, had some fresh seafood.
Didn't you crab while you were there?
Did, yeah. I forgot to, that's good. So I got to crab, and that was insane, dude. We had so much fun. We were sitting there eating lunch in this general store kind of thing where they were frying up seafood and they had fresh stuff right there. It was really good. Yeah, we're sitting there, and it says crab pot, $7 rental, and we were like, are you kidding? Okay. So we rented 4 crab pots. We went down and bought some minks. They have dead skinned mink. I guess they just trap them for crab bait.
Oh. And then they sell the hide, and then you get the meat?
Yeah. And so it's $4 for a mink or whatever.
That's a strange.
I know. And it was
I would have
apparently
not
the
expected
best.
you to tell me that.
And
just then.
several people said it was the best bait you could use. So anyway, we bought them. I went and got a $19 license, and my brother-in-law did, and jet fished for free, And so we started throwing these things. We went off on this dock in the bay, and threw these pots out in the water. We had no clue what we were doing, and we put one down. We went down towards the end, put another one, and then we came back. We only had 3 set the whole time because we were using the extra rope from the other one for one of the deeper ones. And by the time we came back 10 minutes later, we were we couldn't stand it, We're let's pull it up and see what's happening, We pull it up. There's a dozen crabs in the pot, and we were freaking out. You can't believe, this is we're actually doing something real here.
Yeah.
It's not this ocean fishing where you just sit there for forever and don't catch anything. So
how many of those were keepers?
Well, you can. So there's two different kinds that we caught. One is called like a red rock crab, and the other is Dungeness. And the Dungeness had to be like 6 inches, and they had to be males. The red rocks, you could keep any size, any gender.
Wow.
So yeah, so there were some pretty big ones, but the red rock crabs only really had meat that was worth getting in the claws.
Yeah.
So it took several of them. We actually kept too many.
Yeah.
We caught a bunch. And so it was just like, from there, it was just havoc, trying to get crabs out of the nets. Jet got pinched, So for like an hour, he didn't touch a crab. I finally was like, look, get down there and get that crab out of there. And he did it, but it was a lot of fun. And so from there, we left and went to, I guess we stayed a night in Portland, and Chris and Jamie and my four all were going to spend like about a week, I guess, together. And so we went up to Seattle, did a couple things there that were kind of touristy that I didn't love, but when you're with your family,
you've skipped over redwoods, I think.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that was in Northern California. Yeah. So got to see the Redwood National Forest, which actually we in our 4 for 4 or 4 on the 4th, I talked about it a little bit.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, so incredible place, like maybe my favorite place. You have to go. You'll see more footage of it as we release it, but like you have to go see it. You just can't. I can't tell you how big the trees are. I sat there, my neck was hurting because I was looking up so much. Just it's awe inspiring, man. So anyway, left further up the PNW with Chris and Jamie and my family, and did the Pike Place Market or whatever, which I hated. I mean, there's some cool looking stuff there. We ate some seafood. I didn't even think it was that good, and just like people everywhere. And so we went from there. We went to the Olympic Peninsula out in Washington, and we did the whole main loop. But we stayed a few nights here and there along the way. It was like eerie how there was no fish in the rivers.
I had the same feeling.
It was weird. There was nothing there, and they just when in that area, I guess like if you're there in that 1.5 month or 2 month period, like there's nothing there. And I ended up scratching out. I was hoping to catch some cutthroats, coastal cutthroats. And I ended up scratching out, I think, like several, like wild steelhead, like babies from the winter run or whatever, I guess, because they were all like, 6 to 9 inches, and they all had all their fins, So I thought, well, these aren't hatchery then, I guess. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
It took me forever to figure that out.
Yeah.
Like I caught them one evening, and the next morning is when I finally was like, oh, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like these are.
You just thought they were like little stocky rainbows.
Yeah. And I didn't really think about the fins or anything, so I went back and looked at the footage. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, it was cool. I did enjoy it. The water was absolutely frigid.
Yeah.
I mean, it was glacial blue, so I'm sure it was literally off the glacier right there. On what is that, Olympus? Is that what it's called, or what is the mountain there?
I guess Mount Olympus. I don't really know.
I know
there's a Mount Olympus in Greece, but I kind of assumed
can't
there's
remember.
one there.
Somebody's going to laugh at me for saying that. But anyway, so we kind of made the loop and saw the Hall of Mosses, which was a really cool area.
I don't know what that is.
It's just an area where like there's extreme amounts of moss all over everything.
That's cool.
Got a bunch of pictures and footage there. Saw a ton of banana slugs there.
Ew.
Which are a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah.
They are so slimy looking, but they're really cool. It's cool because when you walk up on them, they can like feel you coming, and their like antenna or their eyes or whatever they are will like shrink in. And when you start walking towards them, it's weird.
You just held your fingers up like 1.5 feet apart. How big is a banana slug?
Yeah, it's like 1.5 feet. No, most of them are like probably like 8 to a foot.
That's big, man. That's a big critter.
Yeah.
For like actually, I don't know what they are. What is a slug classified as?
I don't know.
Invertebrate. It's not like a mollusk, is it?
Maybe.
I don't know.
There were a bunch of black slugs, and most of them were smaller.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they were banana slugs too. But
what does a banana slug eat?
I don't know.
The black slugs?
Maybe.
I think there's quite a few slugs that are like, predatory upon other slugs.
That's crazy.
I'm reaching way back to my KERA days.
Yeah.
But
anyways. They were cool, man.
That's cool.
Saw some seals and that kind of thing along the way. Saw Canada from across the Juan de la Fuca or whatever it is, you know? And camped another night up on the tip in Port Angeles, and then kind of went around, went back to Seattle, and I had to fly out and actually go play a show, which this would be not this past weekend that if you're listening, but the weekend before. So I had to fly out, play a show at a private gig in Fort Worth.
It's funny because you and I crossed paths twice while I was on vacation. Because I was in Fort Worth the same day you were.
Yeah. And so I flew in Friday, had a buddy pick me up in the Fort Worth area, stayed at his house, played a show Saturday, which was very hot, and we played for like 2 hours just because we were having fun, you know. And then packed my stuff up real quick and had one of the band members, Colton, drop me off at a hotel near the airport, shuttled over the next morning and flew back to Spokane. I was in Spokane by like 10. And then, dude, you're talking about some time changing.
Yeah, for real. I mean, Jet Lag City.
Yes. And so I got to Spokane. My family picks me up. They were in Seattle. They watched Toy Story 4 or whatever, and then took off to Spokane and picked me up. And then from there, it was Rocky Mountains, and it was like, and I was like, thank you, finally some fishing, you know? And so the first stop was actually, I stopped in Orvis. I think it was in Coeur d'Alene, maybe.
Yeah.
And it was...
Is that how they say it's Coeur d'Alene when you're there?
I don't know. That's how I say it.
I always say Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene.
Like lane, like a little strip through the woods.
Yeah.
But I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Say it. Yeah.
That's how I've been saying it. That's how it's spelled, you know, but people don't typically say things like creek, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that Orvis, I've had some good experiences with some Orvis fly shops, man.
For sure, man.
There's always, as far as I'm concerned, and I've only been to a few of them, but like, there's always somebody there that guides and knows what they're talking about, you know, whereas like other fly shops, sometimes you would think it'd be different, but they're just, you know.
Something about it. I don't know. It's kind of like a Chick-fil-A where it's like you got haters and you got lovers of the same place, you know? But like, I feel like you can go in an Orvis store and it might feel a little snooty, but something about the people there that they actually want to help you, and they're not just ticked that you're not buying a guided trip.
Yeah.
Every fly shop I go to, that's kind of the feeling I get most of the time. It's like, I'll show you these flies, but really I just wish you'd buy a guided trip over here. You know?
I'm like, dude, I just bought 6 flies for like $20.
Yeah, for
like,
real,
can
guy.
you please just give me a little information here? And I try to buy flies every time I ask,
too.
you know. But the last 2 I've been in, one was in Jackson Hole, and that one there were like younger, probably like, you know, 20, 30-year-old guys that were giving me like all kinds of good information.
Good.
Yeah. And so I was going to go to the North Fork Coeur d'Alene, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
And he said the water was getting pretty thin, so he said I would go to St. Joe.
What does that mean?
I guess just flows were like starting to really wane.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so, because I think a lot of those Idaho mountains are pretty low.
Pretty dry this year?
They might be that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the biggest thing we saw in Idaho was like 6,600, you know. So
oh, really?
It wasn't super high.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, northern latitude. But so we went to the St. Joe River, which is wild and scenic, I think.
Yeah.
It's got road frontage like for a long way. We went through like crazy awesome tunnels in the mountains, like cutting from the interstate down to like the wild and scenic road. We were on this forest road, you know. He showed us where to go and everything. He said, "This is your walking wade." And dude, it was the baddest experience, man. It was awesome. It was like when we got there, we camped a night, and it was super. I mean, like it was a nice road along this river, but there was hardly anybody on it, and not many. There was a few fishermen, you know, we saw and stuff, and you could just like go down this river and see a hole down there, and especially if there was like a steep incline to get down to it. I mean, just if you wanted to catch 15 out of every hole, you could have done it.
Really?
Oh, it was insane.
15 what?
West Slope cutthroats.
Really?
And they're awesome, dude. Like,
I've heard that like they're pretty prolific. Like where there's West Slopes, like there's a bunch of them.
Yeah,
right?
I believe so. That's kind of the research I've done, and this is one that I've wanted to catch for a long time. And they're awesome. Like a lot of people would see a cutthroat as being like very similar to every other cutthroat, right? But like these West Slopes, man, are like green. Like they're, you know, the greenback that is known as like one of the more green cutthroats. Like these guys, these West Slopes look more like kind of like a generic, I guess you'd say, cutthroat, but they're just like really green on top.
There's really small spots, or
they're fairly small. Yeah, okay. They're more on the small side. They're a little bit like a snake. I think some people have trouble distinguishing.
That's what I'm looking up on my phone right now, because I believe the Snake River cutthroat is like a branch off of the West Slope, but I don't know that for sure. There's one of those cutthroats that I haven't caught before. It's like one of them is a smaller version, or like a smaller classification of the other. So I think that might be right.
They definitely, there's like some controversy on like how different they are or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. Like, and none of them were huge or anything that I got into, at least at first. And so fished, like we were just the first pool we came to, like Jet and Journey and my wife are all sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm just catching them like every few casts, and like missing some. And the water is like the greenest water you've ever seen.
Really?
It was so pretty, man. I'll show you some pictures here in a little bit. But just like big, deep holes, lots of pocket water. The water was just beautiful. We caught a ton of fish. And so then we finally get to our campsite, and like there's only a few campsites. There's like 4 or 5 different, like I guess national forest campsites. And most of them, especially the last like 3 as we were headed east, had like 2 spots, and there was like hardly anybody there. I mean, so like we pull up to ours, and there was one other older couple, not old, but they had a little RV. So we're sitting there, we pull out dinner and stuff. The river's right behind us, and I think no, I hadn't fished yet. I was gonna eat dinner and fish a little bit right there in this little run, and I'm sitting there with my back to the river, and Journey and Jet are eating SpaghettiOs, whatever, and Journey goes, there's a bear. And there was a bear on the other side of the river, a black bear. And so I turn around, I see him. He's going upriver. And there's like an island over there. And you can see he kind of cuts over to the island. I'm like running to grab cameras and stuff. And like I start taking some pictures. He gets on the island. He goes all the way up to the tip upriver. And then he decides to cross to our side. Well, as he's crossing, the current's bringing him downriver. And I'm like, hey, Kaylee, you might want to go get the kids and put them in the truck, and we're all watching, whatever. And she's like, she starts like feverishly like picking up SpaghettiOs and stuff. I'm like, no, get the kids, And so she like puts them in the truck, and this bear starts like it's going to end up right on top of us, if it keeps coming. And I get on the tailgate with my camera, and this sucker comes up, from me to you, from where I was standing eating dinner. Yeah. Like it comes up on the bank, looks up, sees me. I'm snapping pictures. I can't even get the whole bear in the frame, and takes off once it sees us, And Kaylee's got video of it and everything, so I'm going to put it online, obviously, so you guys will see this stuff. But it was cool. And it was a pretty small bear, it didn't really like spook me or anything, and we still camped there that night. But it was one of the coolest experiences that we had on vacation.
Yeah, that's cool.
So a bear like literally came into our picnic table. You know what I mean? And so it was cool. Then the next, I fished that run across the river by the island half hour later and smoked a bunch of tiny cutthroats. The next morning, got up and fished a little bit. And the last hole, I was like, hey, I fished this hole this morning before y'all got up. Can we stop here before we head back real quick? And it was like a scramble down this like scree and big rocks and stuff. And it was, it was a place that most people don't fish, but there was a huge hole. You could see it from the road. So I went down there, and I had caught some fish there and missed like a big one. And I ended up getting down there and caught like a 17-inch West Slope. Totally. And I was like, yeah, and Kaylee was way up there. I told her to put the long lens on, take a picture of me, and I'm like, I can't go anywhere. I'm on like this cliff edge, and so she gets like half my body is all she can get with all the rocks and stuff. But it was awesome. Like I was so happy to have caught that fish. It just like it made me want to like live in Idaho. You know,
that's cool.
And then from there, and if any of your stories need to interject, feel free, because I know this is getting long-winded. So.
No, I'm just going to let you, because we're kind of on the same week right now. I'm going to let you finish up this week, and then I'll just tell my story the same week.
Okay, so the next, and that was another native I got to mark off.
Yeah.
And which I hate to say mark off. I don't know another better way to say it. I probably should think about that.
I don't mean life list.
Yes.
You got the life list.
I mean, mark off sounds like, I got it done. I'm tired of it, whatever. But not really. So the next thing we were doing was we were going to go into Montana. We went through Missoula area, and we were going to stay. What I wanted to do, and I had this plan for a while and done a little bit of research. Actually, I think I planned it the first time I flew back to Texas, and or the only time. And then I'd done some research, and I found out that the only fluvial population, so river-dwelling population of grayling that's endemic to the river that it still lives in today, is in the Big Hole River in Montana. There's only one river-dwelling population that's been there since God put them on Earth. And so I was like, I want to fish for them, And I've heard that grayling aren't super hard to catch, but I do know that, like, a lot of times when you go to these places to try to catch a native trout, it's kind of hard to – sometimes it can be, like, kind of hard to find those trout sometimes. Like, you'll end up catching a ton of brook trout or something, you know what I mean? And so, anyway, we camped out. Got up the next day, went to the Big Hole. We were not too far, probably like 40 minutes. Went to the Big Hole, which is near Wisdom, Montana. And it was the most, like, you remember when we were in the Madison River Valley last year? It was like that. It was just
pristine.
Oh my gosh, dude. It was like the best day ever. You know, like, can you, like, put it room temperature, or 75 degrees, sunny, huge river valley, deer, birds chirping of all different kinds, flying around. There's no wind, and it's like it was just like glass. I mean, and I'm literally surrounded by mountains in like 360 degrees with snow on them. Like it was just like when you see pictures in magazines that you grew up reading, like that's what it is, dude.
It's interesting that you had that experience in Montana again.
Yeah,
it's neat how when you start traveling to these different Rocky states, how they're all kind of individual.
They are. I thought the same thing. Yeah. That's because Idaho. I've always thought of it as kind of being a real thick timber state. Whatever, and everywhere that we were at in Idaho, which I've been to Idaho. Wheat fields too, but it was that way, and then we cross over to Montana, and all of a sudden there's huge river valleys that are meadows, or whatever. Yeah. And anyway, so I start fishing. There's not a whole lot of public stretches that I can get to, so we kind of pull down this little like forest road that's going to campgrounds, and I see that there's like a pull off and a trail. And no fence, so I thought, okay, this is probably public, So my OnX wasn't working because I was in no service, and I hadn't saved a map, and so I go down there and I hear and I look out and there's a ripple, like out there not far, and so I take a few steps. I gotta be real quiet because the water was like just super calm, and I throw it out there and boom, takes my fly. Set the hook, nothing. I'm like, what the heck, dude? So I tried again, same thing. And then after that, it spooked, I hear another one up the river. I go down there, and it was just so quiet that I don't feel like I was spooking them or something, And so anyway, fished there for like 30, 40 minutes, and I kind of had the kids by myself. Kaylee she's not a morning person, so she takes her time in the mornings to like just actually want to deal with kids and stuff sometimes, which I don't blame her. Especially after like 20 days. And then, so anyway, I was like, I kind of got tired of that. So we hopped in the car. We go on down the road a little bit. I see another kind of pull off with like a decent run in it. And so I get out and I stand there for about 2 minutes and I see a rise kind of by the bank. So I hop down there, take my rod. And when I finally, like I always like, when I see a rise or I see a pull, I always try to like hit the closest stuff to me first. So I don't mess up, something that might be even closer to me. And so, like, by the time I finally get my fly up right in front of that, where that rise was by this little rock, something takes it, and I hook it, and it's like silver, and I'm like, it's a grayling. Like, it's got to be. It's like a 12-incher. It's a decent one, or whatever. And I get it to my net, and it's a brook trout. It's a big female brook trout. It's like, doesn't have much color on it, As it's coming in, I'm like, oh, what? Why is this happening? So anyway, fish around there. No, I didn't. I wanted to keep it and eat it, but we were kind of moving around at this point quite a bit. And so I let it go and fished around a little bit more. And I went back and I was like, hey, can we just go back towards Wisdom, even if it's not really the way we were going to head? And there was a couple little pull-offs I had seen that were just like almost like gates, where they had public access, like a corner of BLM, touched or whatever. And so I went back, and we pull up, and there's this little gap, and there's some kind of like machine there that's like spraying water, and like it's got like a wheel on it and everything. It's kind of making a bunch of noise, and so it didn't feel that great. So
what was the machine doing?
I don't know. It was like in the water. It had a wheel, and then it was like spraying water out just a little bit right there. It's just like a fine mist spraying out. I have no clue what it was doing.
It sounds like a water flow meter, but I don't know why it would be spraying.
It might be.
Mist.
It had a bunch of like junk in the wheel, like it was trying to catch like stuff. I don't know.
Does it look like a government thing or like a farmer thing?
Yeah, I think like a government thing. Okay. And anyway, but I kind of got a few feet away and didn't bother me too much. And I started seeing rises out there. And this is a big part of the river. It's like nothing I've really ever fished. It's like deep, can't see the bottom, flat, and slow,
Yeah.
So I take
normally that's what you hate. Like that's your least favorite thing.
Yeah, it is. And I know a lot of guys, like that's what they look for because there's big fish in it or whatever. And they're a lot better and more equipped fly fishermen than me probably. But I take a hopper and throw it out there, and I didn't throw it far, and I miss a fish right off the bat. I'm like, what in the world? Miss another one, and I'm just like, I can't. What is going on? I throw it out there far where I'd seen another rise, and something comes up and smashes it. Set the hook. I got it, and it's coming in. It's got this big red cheek patch. And Kaylee goes, "Is it a grayling?" I said, "No, it's a rainbow, but it's a pretty big one. It's like 17-incher, And it starts getting closer and closer, and all of a sudden I see this big dorsal, and I'm like, "What in the world?" So I'm like, "It's a grayling." I net it, and it had like a weird like defunction thing or whatever you want to call it, like malfunction in its gill.
The red of the gill was still showing.
I could see like part of the gill on one side of it. Whatever. I used the wrong word there, but. And so that's why I thought it was a rainbow coming up, but it was like a 17-inch.
You landed this thing. You caught one.
I caught
it.
Dude.
Bone.
I know, dude. I was so stoked. And anyway, we took a lot of video and pictures and stuff of it. And like once I did that, I was just like so like at ease with like I just felt like my trip was complete. I mean, because I caught, I guess technically, if you want to count the steelheads, like 4 different natives. And I was hoping to catch, at least 3. So, I mean, I felt so good about it. And anyway, from there, we did our best not to stay in grizzly country too much, but we think we had 2 nights kind of in grizzly country. Because from there we took off. We went to Wyoming, stayed south of the Teton Park there. And same campground we stayed in last year, actually.
Oh,
there.
really?
Yep. And saw some bighorns.
Yeah.
And I lost a fly rod.
Really?
I was not happy about it.
Which one did you lose?
I'm an idiot, dude. So we pull into the campground kind of late, and I had my fly rod broken into 2 pieces, right?
Is it one of the 2 pieces?
It was my 4-piece 4-weight.
Oh.
That I bought. It's like $70 rod.
Yeah, but it's newer, right?
Yeah, and also the Orvis reel that I bought out of the garage sale.
Oh.
And the fly line.
Oh.
I know, I was pretty upset. But anyway, I put it on top, because I didn't want to lean it on the bushes. It's like, that looks just like a bush. I'm going to forget it. You know what I mean? So I put it on the top of the thing, but I put it on the very edge. I was like, I'll see it when I walk up, you know? And so we ate dinner and set up camp. And then I was like, hey, it's almost dark. Let's go see if there's any sheep on that mountain where there's that, wildlife viewing area. Mm-hmm. And hopped in real quick, and when we came back, my wife said that she had the next morning was when I realized it.
Yeah.
And she said when we came back last night, I saw a rod laying up against the bathroom, leaning up against the bathroom. I didn't say anything about it because I didn't think anything about it, and it was probably my rod. But when we left out that next morning, we looked, and it was not there.
Oh,
somebody took it from the bathroom.
Yeah, but do you think that somebody picked it up and put it on the bathroom to show you it was there?
Yeah, so I think it slid off because we had to go quite a ways through that little campground. We had to make the roundabout.
Yeah,
and I think it had slid off because it was right on the edge. Mm-hmm. And somebody picked it up, put it at the bathroom, and then somebody took it from there. And I was just like, dadgummit.
Man.
And that's like, it was like, altogether, like I had maybe $100 in that rod.
Yeah.
But replacement value is like
exactly.
a much different thing.
And also just did you carry your other 4-weight as a backup?
I had an 8-weight from there on. But I didn't buy a fishing license in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Wyoming and Montana are difficult states to make things happen fishing wise.
Yeah.
Like, you almost like can't figure out how to buy one online.
Yeah.
It's weird. And they're kind of, Montana was like $50 straight up before you even wanted to like purchase a bunch of days or anything. It was like 2-day license, like $50. It's like, golly. Idaho was $22. So we didn't buy in Wyoming. Had 2 days there that I could have fished. Then I bought a 2-day in Colorado. And we stayed on the Cache La Poudre, and it was raging, but there was pocket water because there's lots of boulders, and it's the. Have you ever been down the byway there?
No, I've never been up there.
It is awesome, dude. Yeah. That's a good drive, man. And so we stayed on it that night, and I caught a few fish right around the campground. If you could find a hole that looked like it, a fish could actually not have to just work in it, there was a fish in it.
Yeah.
So I caught a few. The next morning, got up, caught a few.
Rainbows, browns?
Both, yep.
Yeah.
And I missed I had, for a split second, I had probably a 15, 16-inch brown on. And then we left out that morning, and I had talked to Anthony, our buddy, and he had fished that Cheeseman Canyon stuff. He talks about it a lot. He hypes it up pretty good, and it is the hype is for real. From what I understand. So I was like, I got the lowdown from him, and I was going to go down there and fish the South Platte, and he, I got the lowdown and everything. So I was going to do that the next morning, and so we passed all this insane canyon water on the cache that And I was going to fish 1 or 2 spots. I only fished 1, and it was not in a spot that I'd already passed all the good stuff. So I was so antsy. I just fished a spot for 5 minutes, and went down to the South Platte. There's people everywhere. The water was raging. And there it's you don't notice that it's raging until you get out in it, and you're almost getting swept down the river. You know what I mean? It looks pretty slick, but it's just such a big, wide river, and it was just powerful. And so, I actually did not catch a fish in the South Platte.
Yeah.
I had a fish look at a woolly bugger, and that was it. And I did the whole I hate fishing this way, but I had the bobber or whatever, not the bobber, but the pinned cork or whatever, and then fished 3 flies they tell you to do. I stopped in at the fly shop, and he told me I bought some flies. It was just really just a waste of money. I should have stayed on the cache and just picked pocket water and caught good fish. And then that's pretty much the end of it. We stayed in Pueblo, Amarillo, and I played a show in Fort Worth on Saturday at the river, and that was fun. Sweated it out, wasn't used to it, and felt pretty tired afterwards. And now we're here on Monday recouping. So. But that's a long story. So I'm sorry.
That's a good one. There's a lot of fish in there.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, for sure.
We have kind of similar experiences with Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado's tough right now.
Yeah.
Real tough. There's so much runoff. It's unreal. And there's so much snow on the mountains. It's crazy. Did y'all see a bunch of snow where you were at or no?
Man, not really, because where we were at is north of the park there, and it was kind of lower elevation.
Yeah.
And then from there, we kind of scooped back into Denver. But we could see it, off of I-25. We could see some of those mountains.
Yeah.
But
I spent a lot of time above 10,000 feet this week.
That's cool.
And there's a lot of snow, man. A whole bunch. It's crazy. And
were y'all hiking through snow and stuff?
Yeah.
It's cool.
So we actually started a vacation an evening early. Decided to drive to Fort Worth and stay at a friend's place for just to get the 2-hour head start, which is kind of nice because we ended up making it to Colorado in plenty of time. We actually ate supper in Colorado on that Saturday. Stayed in a Airbnb room as opposed to a house.
We did that on the trip.
That was kind of strange.
It's a little bit.
I'm not saying that you and I shouldn't do it sometime because it's cheap, but I don't think I'd do it with Cassie again because she really didn't like it very much. And the people were real nice, or whatever. And we never even saw them except for check-in, but it was different. I just honestly, one of the big takeaways from the trip is that if you can finally figure out your system with camping, I kind of would rather camp than do anything else because I got to where I can sleep pretty good camping.
Dude, we slept better camping than we did in hotels.
Yeah.
The whole family.
It's nice, man.
Yeah,
it's the awesome freedom. Your bedroom is gigantic, right?
Yep. Fresh air, cold air. I mean, that's key, man. Cold air is a good thing for you.
Yeah, it's cool. And that first night, we pulled in, ate supper, and had enough time to go do this little loop around Vallecito and up through there, and just it's 25-mile loop, just kind of wildlife watching pretty much, and saw some mule deer with some fawn. Mule deer fawns are cool. Their spots are really vivid. It's kind of neat. And then kind of had a funny thing happen where okay, so not training is a bad way to say it, but I'm constantly trying to help my wife learn how to like look for wildlife because she enjoys it now. Uh-huh. But she's like, excuse me, we kind of joke about it some, where we're driving down the road and I catch her looking out my window. I'm like, hey, look out your window, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, there's nothing over there, and there's some deer on my side that I'm looking at, and I was like, Cassie says there's nothing but cattle over there, and I look. And there's a herd of 50 elk, not 50 yards off the highway, out her window. Like, Cassie,
those are elk.
And she said, what? So
Golly.
the case of mistaken identity was pretty funny. Yeah. And when you see her, don't let her live that down. But maybe like it'd be funnier if you like slip it in like kind of, you know, low key as opposed to I heard you. You know what I mean? Like if you can really get her, it'd be good. But that's fun. And then so we went and had her sleep at the Airbnb. Got up early the next morning and rode the Durango Silverton narrow gauge railway.
I've been wanting to do that for some time.
It was pretty cool, man. Yeah. I will say this: like for a touristy experience, it is one of the better touristy things I've ever done.
That's cool.
I think it's because you show up at this railroad station there in Durango. And we did the early train, and I think that a lot of vacationers kind of don't like to get up early. And it's not really early. We left out at 8. But when you get on the train, you don't really realize how many people are on the train. You just have your car, and it's like 30 people. So it's not like you're just like shoulder to shoulder with people all day long. We did the cheapest thing, which I think is the best thing. It's an open-air pergola where you don't sit facing forward. You sit facing out. So like you're looking at the mountains and everything and the canyon and the river, and you're getting like the mountain air and everything. Like you can touch the rock wall some places and stuff, you know, like it's really, really cool. And I kind of made sure and chose seats. Cassie's kind of doesn't like to sit next to people, you know, which is understandable for girls sometimes because you never know what you're going to end up with, right? So I always try to give her like the aisle or whatever. And we ended up sitting like right at the back of the pergola in seat 19 and 20. And it just so happens that the train conductor for our cabin or whatever you call it, our car, stands right there next to those seats. So we got to talk to this guy the whole time. And real nice, cool guy, and enjoyed that like we genuinely cared who he was and not just like, oh, you know, or whatever. Ends up his family has worked on the train for 4 generations.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And like... The train really means something to him. You know, it wasn't just like a guy working at a tourist place. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
That is cool, dude.
And he had some local knowledge and stuff and like knew everything about the train, you know, but not like a annoying way, but just like if you asked him something, he'd tell you like in a really cool way, like what you wanted to hear about.
That's cool, dude.
It was cool. Yeah, he was a good dude, man. The train, one way up is a lot better than the other. So, but if you take it 2 ways, you get to see the good side on one of your trips. So on the way up, we got to see the really good side. It's like 3/4 of the view is yours on the way up, and then 1/4 is yours on the way back. So, if we ever do it again, which I probably would do it again, it's 3.5 hours one way. So 7-hour round trip plus 2 hours layover in Silverton to eat and hang out. I probably would do one way and just make sure I'm on the east view. Is the good view. So if anybody listening wants to do it, just make sure whatever trip you book, you do the east view. If you do a one-way, they have a bus shuttle that'll take you back down. Oh, it's like an extra $10 or something like that, but it saves you like 4 hours worth of your trip or something like that. So that would kind of be worth it, I think, to go back and do it. But I'm kind of glad we did the experience this time around. You know, so did that. Ate at a place in Silverton that was just. I was kind of disappointed with the food up there because it was like in Silverton in particular, like that whole town is geared for like the people getting off that train. So it's a whole bunch of like burgers, chicken strips and stuff like in these like old saloon bar looking things. It wasn't bad, but it's just like, I don't know. I kind of maybe wanted something a little bit different. I don't know, but it was good. Whatever. So we got off the train after we got back down and we were going to head to somewhere close to where we're going to do our backcountry or backpacking trip that we were planning on doing. And all this time, from the night of Fort Worth, Cassie had a sore throat. And then on the drive through New Mexico, I developed some type of a sinus thing. And as we continue on our journey, these things start building and building worse and worse to where we stop in Durango on the way and buy Dayquil and NyQuil and just start bedding up hard. And we went through Red Mountain Pass, the $1 Million Highway, which is one of my favorite places. I've been going through there since I was like 8. So it's really cool. But I haven't been through there in like 13 years. Or at least I haven't been north through there in 13 years. That's what it was. So I got to see a view that I hadn't seen in a long, long time. There's so much snow. We saw a double rainbow in the snowy mountains.
Oh, man.
And we were like in the rainbow. Like we were up high, So like we're at like 11.5 or something. I don't know. And like there's just a snowy rainbow right there, all up in us. It was cool. And then we go down through and end up in Ouray, which if you've never been to Ouray, it's called the Switzerland of Colorado or the U.S. or something like that. Have you been there?
No.
It's pretty cool. Well, do you think Ouray's a funny name?
It's funny. It's spelled Ouray,
yeah,
right? That's named after the bird, right?
I don't have a clue.
Isn't the American Dipper? Isn't that the official name for the American Dipper?
Oh, we've talked about this before. I remember that now. Yeah, maybe so. I don't know.
Come on, this bird knowledge up in here.
I remember us because I remember we looked it up one time and it was like a Ouray. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I forgot about that. May have seen some there, but we stayed at a campground in Ouray. And Ouray literally feels like you're hanging at the base of mountainous cliffs, and they're like kind of over you. It's like real cool place. And there's snow everywhere. It's a cool spot. And every one of these little mountain towns has a touch of touristy to it, but Ouray's not too bad. I felt like it was more like just a cool place to be. Then got up the next morning there, filtered water, washed some clothes in the river, not with anything bad, just rinsed them, Taught Cassie how to filter water. She thought that was kind of cool. And then
use the Steripin?
Both, the Steripin and the Sawyer. I think I have the Sawyer that Trent told us not to get, that my mom had got for me a couple years back.
Yeah.
It's like the mini or whatever, so the volume's just tough, man. I mean, it's like it's good if you wanted to like fill a water bottle, maybe like for a survival thing to keep around, but it would take you an hour to do a gallon, I think. But Steripin, you do a gallon in like 15 minutes, so it was nice. So I ended up doing Steripin most of the trip, but I did both of those. And then left there, went to Ridgeway, which is kind of more of a valley town. Went to a nice fly shop there, and I think it was Riggs Fly Shop in Ridgeway. It was like a kind of really nice shop, and the guy there was pretty good. He had information, but he wasn't like, man, you need to do this, and this, or whatever. But it was a good experience. And I was talking to him about Blue Lakes, and he's like, yeah, man, there's a lot of snow up there, but I mean, you can probably make it happen, or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, we'll see. So Cassie and I started our ascent to Blue Lakes, our vehicular ascent, that is. And we start driving up to this trailhead that we're supposed to go to, and this is kind of going to be kind of the apex of our trip. We've kind of been planning this part of it for about 2 months now, just because it's supposed to be a beautiful place. Cassie loves going up high, and I figured this out. This is kind of neat about my wife. She really, really, really likes to spend time behind binoculars looking at the sides of mountains. Like, that's like one of her favorite things to do. It's like, that's cool. Yeah. And it actually became pretty beneficial throughout the trip, just kind of for enjoyment, because I could fish and she could be happy as long as there's a mountain around to look at, you know. And so we start driving up, and the mountain is angry. There's suddenly a giant black storm that comes from the other side of the mountain, and it's just like on top of the mountain that we're supposed to be climbing, which is Mount Sneffels.
Which y'all had. Y'all had the Sneffels.
We did have the Sneffels. And that was part of the thing, is that by that time I wasn't feeling very good, and neither was Cassie. And then you got a storm on the mountain, and we sat in the car for probably 30 minutes just thinking about what we were going to do, and finally we just chickened out. Yeah. Just didn't do it. And I think it was a good choice. I hate to chicken out on something like that, but it was going to be Cassie's first time ever backpacking. Let's be honest, I'm not the most experienced at it. I feel like I can tough things out, but I don't want to tough things out with my wife. I want her to have fun when we do stuff.
No, you don't. That's what I mean. That's the takeaway that I kind of had from my trip too, man. It's just that, which I knew it going into it, and I didn't make any bad decisions. It wasn't something like I necessarily learned, but I mean, it's definitely something like when you go with your family, especially. I mean, it's just not fun to be cold and wet.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't matter where you are.
No.
So,
yeah, it's not a good thing. And I think that was a good choice for like the whole enjoyment of our trip, because really, you can probably attest to this, like, if your wife has a bad time doing something, for the next couple of days, it doesn't go as good as what you wish it would.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
When Kaylee wasn't getting good sleep, if there was like a couple nights or whatever where Journey wouldn't sleep good or whatever it might be, it's just like the next few days you're just like, hey, can I get you another caffeine drink of some sort? Because you're being a grouch.
How can I be nice to you? Which I probably was a grouch some too, but it's a lot easier to see when your partner's a grouch as opposed to when you
No
are, right?
doubt. No doubt.
But we made it up to the trailhead and just kind of sat there for a while and deliberated and finally decided, you know what, we just don't need to do this. Like, I don't want it to turn into not like a survival situation, but, whatever the next couple notches down from that is, where like you do it just to do it, and it's not fun. I don't want to do that.
No.
So, but we did end up fishing right there. And this is the first time we actually fished because I bought the licenses in Ridgeway. You can buy a 5-day license in Colorado, I think, is one of their brackets, and then you got to pay for it each extra day. So I was like, okay, if we can put off fishing until this day, then I don't have to buy any extra days, and it worked out fine. But beautiful, picturesque place to fish, and didn't catch a single thing because...
was it a river?
Yeah, I don't think... Well...
A creek?
Yeah, creek for them. It'd be definitely a river here, but like it was creaky. Like in that 100 to 200 CFS kind of thing, and, rocky stream with some pocket water and a bunch of beaver ponds. And I saw a few rises, but pretty much anywhere there was a stream and places it looked like a great pocket, like clear water too. This wasn't like muddy like everything else we had seen. When we came into Colorado, the Animas was chocolate milk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like, ooh.
Was it because of the chemicals the EPA dumped in
Probably.
there?
I think I actually joked with that with our train conductor. He's like, man, that's all that stuff's down at the bottom of Lake Mead or whatever that lake, the big lake is down there in Arizona, or I don't know where it was, but he's like, they're the ones got to worry about that now. But no, it was the runoff was bad. Which I'm sure it's good for the ecology and stuff, but for trying to fish, it's rough. But runoff was heavy where we were, but the water was clear. So I'm like, oh, okay, I think there'd still be fish looking up. Nada. I mean, I hit some good holes, some good pockets. Nothing. Not even a look. So
I had that happen in New Mexico one time.
Yeah.
We were actually staying in the town Red River, New Mexico, and I fished kind of up there on the Red River from the town or whatever, and it was so cold, dude. And it was like June, and I fished like some good looking stuff and never saw a fish.
I think that's what we were running into across the state, is that it's early to mid July and you're fishing late May, early June conditions this year. It was a different year, man.
Yeah,
real different. But yeah, so we decided to leave there. And had a whole extra day pretty much at that point in time because we weren't going to go and climb the mountain and go to Blue Lakes like we talked about. So decided to go to Black Canyon early via a pit stop at our hunting place up there.
Really?
Yeah. So we actually went up on top of the plateau and went to the places where us, Matt, and Brennan camped. And then I went and showed Cassie I carved an aspen in 2016 when I shot my bull. It was also the year that we got married, but it was before we got married. So I carved our wedding date in a tree with KC plus Cassie on there, and I got to go show her that. So that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
It was neat. Yeah. It was a neat deal. Also, by the way, if we're ever up there together again, hunting there,
we can do a Tyler plus Casey.
Most people probably think we already do that, but there's another road if you come from the south that tells you, hey, it's faster to do this than to actually go through town. It's not, because that road goes through a private golf course, and Google doesn't recognize that. There's actually a gate about 25 miles in.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Dude, that's terrible.
It was bad. The view was great where you're driving, so it was kind of okay, but So Cassie was like, "It doesn't matter," and I was like, "Oh, you don't understand. I just wasted an hour of my day driving for no reason."
Yeah, there are big fish down there in the Black Canyon.
That's right. It stunk, man. But whatever. We went up there and saw that, and then we ate at a place called Crash Burger that's real tasty. But get double meat when you go there because their meat patties their burgers are kind of like that California kind of small burger kind of thing. You know, they don't understand, but it's tasty. And then we went and descended into the Black Canyon, and that freaked my wife out real good on the way down. The drive down it's like the steepest grade in America.
Really?
Yeah.
East Portal, is that what it is?
The East Portal. I believe it's 16-degree grade.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is, I mean, it's steep. It's real steep. And on the way down, my wife's already kind of freaking out. She's an anxious person anyways. And so she's already freaking out a little bit about this. And then a guy like kind of comes speeding up behind me in a Jeep and then whips around and passes me as we're going down one of these really steep things. And my wife's mad. She's like, "How would you pass in a place like this?" You know, and it was like, whatever, you know. But we got down, got our campsite picked out and camped, and got our tent set up. We've been using that Lux tent. And has that episode aired? It has, right?
Yeah.
On the Backcountry series?
Yep.
So I actually bought one of those tents. It's the Mini Peak, which is the 2-man, 4-sided tent. Legit. It's like super legit.
Yeah.
I bought the inner and the outer, and it takes like 5 minutes to set up. And
cool.
You're in a tent, man.
I'm ready to see it, man.
Yeah, I didn't bring it. I'm sorry.
I mean, I saw a few. They didn't have any really set up. I just saw them in the packs. But I actually stopped by Lux because they are on the Olympic Peninsula.
In Forks, right?
Forks, yeah. We literally drove right through the town. So I was like, I'm stopping by. And it was pretty cool.
It's cool. They're a cool little rig, man. I like it a lot. But so it only takes like 2 seconds to set camp up, you know. So boop, boop, we're done. I'm like, all right, I want to go fish. And so we go down and walk down right there. And there's like a little spreader dam down there. It makes, I don't know, I guess that's Crystal Lake or something. I don't remember. But then it kind of drops down into the just kind of normal river stretch of the Black Canyon. That's kind of where you camp at. And the big bug hatch was not on. Yeah. Which
it had already passed?
Yeah, I guess it already passed. I kind of figured that. I didn't even find any big casings or whatever there. So I just went to fishing with PAs and stuff and ended up scratching out a decent-sized little brown there. But just didn't have that same feel that what we had, which I didn't expect it. So I was fine with what happened down on that evening, and because, you know, where we went in 2017, I guess it was. I mean, that was a special place that took a bunch of effort to get to, right? So, like, there's risk and reward there. And here, there was a little bit of risk, but the reward wasn't great either. And I think, too, if it would have been like you and I, and like we've been trying to catch some fish, we could have caught some fish. Yeah. But you know, this whole time I'm trying to help my wife out. You know, help her catch some fish too. But she likes to fish, but she just doesn't spend as much time with the fly rod in her hands. So she takes a little bit of help. Not that she like needs somebody to hold her hand the whole time, but like I want her to have fun, right? So I'm kind of help her trying to catch some fish. And she misses one and kind of gets disappointed, and then it's starting to get dark. So I fish a little bit, and it's funny because as it got dark, those fish moved up into frog water, and you could just see the fish just sitting there, and they just like stick their nose up and eat something, but not move. So if you'd like land your fly right there wherever they were, you'd catch one. So I caught like I can't remember how big that fish was, but it's a decent sized fish. First fish of the trip. Finally, that felt pretty good. You know, it was like a 14, 15 inch brown, I think. And then we went to bed after that. I think that night we did a thing where I bought some little 4-packs of like bratwurst sausage things that were pre-cooked, you know, like smoked or whatever, and cooked those on the pocket rocket. That was a hit. Like that's a tasty way to go. You know, cool. You can do a little sausage wrap and open a can of beans and you're eating pretty quick. Did that a couple times. But the next morning we got up fairly early, and went kind of up the river. There's a good little drive you can take until like they shut you out because it's Area 52 over there or something. But I don't know. There's a lot of things in Colorado where there's a fence that doesn't make sense. They're like, you can no longer enter beyond here. It's like, why? It's just a canyon. But anyways, kind of go all the way to that gate, which is probably a 2-mile drive, and I kind of scout the holes on the way up. And the river's pretty big, and it's not as clear as when we were there. It's probably like Lake Fork after a rain kind of, like 2 foot.
Stain kind of thing.
Stain kind of thing. And I don't see a whole lot of bug life. Don't see a whole lot of fish rising. So, like, okay, I'm going to just do some dropper stuff. And I tie on like a size 12 stimmy and a dropper and go to fishing for a while. And actually don't go to fishing for a while. Walk down. Cassie's follows me down this little scree slope or whatever you want to call it, rocks. And then we get down to the river's edge, and there's like no bank, right? It's just like kind of angled down, and there's just big rocks you can stand on the edge of the river. And I go to fishing, she goes to fishing. I realize that I've tied on some fluorocarbon as opposed to mono tippet, so my flies is sinking real fast, so I'm kind of ticked. So I got to cut all that off and redo it. And I look up, and, I mean, we've been down there like 5 minutes. I look across the river, and there's a black bear right on the other side of the river from us.
Oh, man.
Same scenario.
That's cool, dude.
My wife, that was her goal of the trip, to see a bear. And I left this out, but on the train we saw one way up on an avalanche slide. I mean, like a black dot. Let me get my binoculars out and see what that is.
Yeah.
And she thought that was cool. So I look up, and 30 yards across the river is a young male cinnamon just making his way, just chilling, eating grass. Like, we watched this bear for probably, like, I fish and watch. Cassie just stops fishing and just watches him. I film him, and he's probably, like, in our lives for 15 minutes.
That's cool, dude.
Just chilling, just eating. And
where is this? Is this Black Canyon?
Yeah, in the canyon.
Really?
Yeah. And
because we had seen there was like supposed to be bears there, but we
Yeah.
were like, oh, this is sheep country.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I had a thing of tortillas like get drug out into the woods while we were down there.
Really?
Whenever you and I were there,
I
and
don't
I assumed it
remember
was
that.
like a little critter. It might have been a bear. I don't know, but you can't really be bear safe when you backpack in to the bottom of Black Canyon like that. So, oh well. But yeah, it was like, I mean, it was probably like a 70, 80-pound bear. I think it was a young male, and he was just chilling. I like would whistle at him, and he wouldn't even do anything. But after that, I was like, okay, I want you to look at me. So I went, "Yeah," like a fawn, dude, right away. Like, what was that? So you can tell that he was keyed in on that.
Yeah.
And I continued to fish, and I got a bunch of footage of him, like pretty tight, on the river there. And then Cassie like kind of stopped fishing and just watched him and was looking around. And she says she saw another bear further up, which I thought might have been him, but then we saw him further down the river later. So I don't know. There's just bears around. I don't know where they all were and stuff. But it was kind of an interesting thing that happened. Like at one point in time, that bear was going up, and he bumped a mule deer doe, and she was wigged out that she saw that bear. Like we could just like watch her kind of on the side of the cliff or whatever. She was like, it wasn't like a cliff, but it was like, I don't know, kind of a slope down the side of the cliff or whatever, where erosion or whatever had happened. And the whole time she was like looking back at that bear, and then she'd look down below her. So that like there's a fawn down there somewhere, and she's like worried about it or whatever. But that was kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. And so we had a real good bear experience. I did see one big fish nod across the river that I couldn't get to, but it was like, that 20-plus inch rainbow. I saw him just bloom,
Oh, man.
And it was like too far to cast. And when you're dry fly fishing anyways, if you got to cast more than like 30 feet across the river, you're toast. Like it drag as soon as you hit the water.
Oh, yeah.
You're done. So it wasn't even worth even thinking about it over there.
Yeah.
But so from there, we decided to go ahead and leave out from the Black Canyon. We went up and drove the South Rim. And I got to take Cassie over and walk out a little ways, and I showed her where we went down. And then I think you could actually see our hole through this little bitty pocket in the side. You could see where we fished and camped and stuff. So that was cool. And she was like, "Y'all were down there?" I was like, "Yep, that's where we were."
Yeah, it was way down.
Yeah, way down there. So that was cool, man. And that painted wall is pretty cool from like the other side. You've probably seen pictures of it, but it was like what we're camping at the bottom of. There's just all this like stratification to the wall. It's kind of neat. Left there, and then made us a pretty good sized drive where we were trying to figure out what we were going to do because we had that off the grid cabin for Leadville for 2 nights, but that was still a whole night away. So we're like, well, what are we going to fill this gap with here? So we went to Gunnison and decided we're going to eat lunch there and do something. Well, as we're leaving the Black Canyon, like my sickness got to the point where I was being achy and having chills. And got to Gunnison and was still experiencing that. Went and ate Mexican food, which was at Agave in Gunnison, which is pretty good for Colorado Mexican food.
Did we go there?
I don't think so. Did we go to a Mexican food place?
Well, me and you and Brennan and Matt went somewhere.
That was Camp Robber in Montrose.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, that was a pretty good place too. But Agave was pretty Tex-Mex. But I'll tell you something I've noticed about every place I go to in Colorado with Mexican food. The salsa's good and the chips are good, but they don't understand refills like we do here in Texas. Like
we only like 4 of them.
Can you please bring more chips? You know? Like they don't get it. Like around here, they got a girl that's what she does. That's her job at the place. Is more chips. You know.
I noticed that. I mean, that's like when I went up to with Kaylee when she was in college up there in Denver area, and we ate at on the border in Denver.
Yeah,
and they gave us one bowl of hot sauce for both of us and a thing of chips. And we was like, we're going to need another one.
Yeah, for real.
Another couple.
Yeah, but the food was pretty good. Yeah. I was satisfied with the food. Up there, it's a lot of green chili stuff and not so much jalapeno, which I'm fine with because that's kind of the local flair or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I like the flavor of green chili. It's usually not as hot, but that's okay. And we went and got cherries at the farmer's market in Gunnison. It's kind of a thing we do now. We get, what are those called? They're like... not Macintosh cherry, Rainier cherries.
Yeah, I got some up in Washington State.
Way better than a regular standard cherry.
Yeah, they're awesome.
They're real good. So we got those and ate on those most of the trip. Like I just not even hungry would eat those. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's just like a thing you do. I felt like a bear getting ready for hibernation. You know, like I'm going to do my best to fatten up on a non-fattening thing. But sat around there, ate cherries, got to feeling somewhat better, took some Dayquil. That's where I really... we didn't buy Dayquil till then. Actually, so I'd just taken ibuprofen before then, which really isn't like a cold treatment. But then when it's all you got,
take the pain away, please.
That's right, and it was all in my sinuses, so ibuprofen did help some. But took some Dayquil and drank some coffee. Like Dayquil and coffee is a good combo, man.
Okay.
like it'll make you feel better.
You don't know
about you don't know much about the coffee, but it's good. So I got to looking on the map and I was like, where can we go that's like going to be enjoyable, looks pretty good, but not real high. And you know, kind of, even though I'm sick, like it's one of the more enjoyable things I get to do is like look at a map and decide where I'm going, you know? And we decided to go, up to this area called Spring Creek, which, if you know much about creeks, there's about 10,000 spring creeks, so good luck finding the right one.
There's a bunch of those. There's a bunch of Elk Creeks, Bear Creeks.
Yep. Boulder Creek. There's a few of those around. But anyways, decided to go to Spring Creek, kind of like a risk because I'm worried that like Cassie's not going to have fun there, and I hadn't researched it much or whatever. So we decided to go ahead and make the choice to go up there and just check it out. Get to drive along the Taylor on the way, and it's the first water I've seen that's not blown out. I'm like, what's going on? This looks good. And usually I try to stay away from the Taylor because it gets guided hard, and a lot of people fish it because it's like famous water or whatever.
Huge trout.
Almont there, big trout. And then it hits me, I'm like, this is a tailwater. That's why it looks fine. Well, I'm an idiot, you know? So I'm like, you know what, Cassie? Let's go down here, and I'm just going to sit on the bank for a while and try to get to feeling better. Well, I go down and sit on the bank for a little while, and then I see a stonefly hit the water that's like a size 8, and it gets munched. And I'm like okay.
Golden?
No, like a squala or something. I don't know. I don't really know what it was. It's big brown stonefly, but it wasn't a salmon fly.
Yeah.
But it was big. And suddenly when you see a big bug get eaten, you're like, I feel better. So I go back up, get my stuff, put my waders on, and fished the Taylor for probably 45 minutes and ended up catching a pretty good brown out of that hit a big stonefly, dry fly. So that was nice. Finally caught a fish that day, and kind of like had that satisfaction feeling. You know, I was like, okay, I don't want to push it too much. I'm still not feeling great. I'm just going to go get back in the truck, and we drove on up. Well, we get to the turn for Spring Creek, and suddenly it turns into a canyon creek, and like you're driving through the canyon along this like straight up native trout looking river. I'm like, this is nice. This is looking pretty good. I was kind of worried. And it's just like pocket water, hole, all the way up. And like it's getting a little bit later, so I don't really have time to fish it, but I'm scouting it for like the next time I come through or whatever, and it's all looking real good. And then suddenly we emerge out of this canyony, sheep-looking country into like what I could best describe to you as what looks like the footage from Valley Vidal when you and Anthony went there. Straight up like meadow country, kind of in a valley with big trees on the upsides of the hills and stuff. And it looks like a spring creek, like cut banks, but the water's clear and there's stones, like big rocks in the creek. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So we drive on up and we're looking for a campsite because campsites get weird there. They have like restrictions for where you can and can't camp, which I'm not used to. Usually I just think national forest, camp anywhere. So we drive up. There's actually another lake. This Spring Creek is a tailwater too, from one of those overflow dams or whatever. Go up there. Don't really like any of the stuff we see. Come back down. We end up finding a random campsite that's in the middle of the valley. No trees around or anything, which, if you're hunting, probably not the best place to do. But we're just fishing and camping. So we decide, this is all right. This is good. So we throw up our tent there and have a little bit of time to fish that evening. And I scratch out 3 little browns right off the bat. So that was cool. And then my sickness was coming and going. And after that, went back, cooked supper, and like it hit hard. Like I went to having chills. Like my arms weren't working right. And it was getting kind of cold. I had to get in the truck for a little bit and just warm up. Like I had hypothermia type symptoms, like it's bad. Dang. And it got real rough that night. I took NyQuil and finally went to bed. And then the next morning I felt pretty good. Got up, beautiful, same kind of day where you're talking about like sunshiny, 65 once the sun got up. When I first stuck my head out the...
Frozen.
Dude, there was frost everywhere. I did not expect it. My boots were outside the tent. It was not good, but as soon as the sun would hit things, it'd thaw out and stuff. But, man, it was cold.
Yeah.
My Climate 20-degree bag was money that night. It was plenty warm enough. Did you get cold?
I'm pretty sure I figured out that my 15-degree bag is actually a 15, like, don't die.
That's what. So the rating on them is that.
Yeah.
It's a survival rating. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the comfort level is like 30, whatever.
Yeah.
So there was being that it's a woman's bag, which I didn't realize till I got it. It's slender, I guess, and especially like the shoulders and stuff. And so I think where I get tight, it gets tight on me or whatever, and the down kind of gets thin or whatever. Is like I get cold spots, So I'm a little worried about the Gila.
You won't be that cold there.
I don't know. I was cold at the Gila in June.
That's not good. Not good at all.
It was cold.
You might have to buy a liner or something.
I think I'm going to. Yeah, I've thought about it.
It's a cheap thing to give you a couple extra degrees,
Yeah, but the decent liners seem to be kind of expensive too.
Do they?
For just a liner,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might check on Steep and Cheap and stuff
Definitely
like that.
Definitely will. Yeah.
I think I've seen some decent. Well, I thought was. I don't know what's decent or not. But like $20. So.
I need like 40 or 50 degrees. So I mean,
you might just have to wear clothes. I did that night. I did the whole like base layer in toboggan, and I think that toboggan really helped.
Toboggan's a deal, man.
Yeah.
I like it. When it's cold, I always have either my hood or a toboggan.
Yeah, but woke up that morning, and Cassie and I probably had our best fishing day of the whole trip that day. So
on that Spring Creek?
Yeah, we just drove down a little further and just kind of worked the eddies, pockets, and stuff like that.
In the canyon?
Yeah. No, it was in the meadow.
Yeah.
Because it's like the fly fisherman's dream where there's really nothing to get caught on. You can drop your back cast, past 90 back here and really not hang too much. So for her, that was really helpful. She got to catch a nice fish. I caught a couple pretty good fish and then finished it out with the best fish of the trip was in that Spring Creek. It was one of those browns where it wasn't super long, but it's a different kind of fish. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably might have made 17, but like had the big mouth, thick body.
Yeah.
Like it's different than them other fish I was catching.
That's how that big one I caught was. I mean, it was just like it was like 23 inches, and people have caught bigger fish than that. But this fish was like, I don't even know how to explain it. That's not a cliche, what I mean? Like, but it was just so thick, man. Big mouth, like you said.
Yeah,
Like you can tell they're a meat eater. You know what I mean?
For real. It's like the other fishies in here are scared of you. I know. And that fish took a dry. I actually did dry or die pretty much the whole trip. Like I never caught a fish on a nymph. After that, I didn't even fish a nymph because I don't know. After that, I didn't fish any deeper water, so it didn't make sense. But anyways, we'll get on with the story. Best fish of the trip right there. So from there we left, and after that, I mean, there's nothing too monumental to talk about. The next 3 days, the next day we went to our off-grid cabin, figured that thing out. That was a little bit weird, but okay. I wouldn't do it again because of the location. It took like 25, 30 minutes to drive to it up a mountain road for like 5 minutes or 5 miles an hour. So, not that I didn't enjoy the off-gridness, but I didn't enjoy, like, if you're trying to vacation and you're not one of those people who just likes to sit around and read books all day, it's not the greatest thing for you.
Yeah.
If you do like to do that, off-grid's probably a great thing.
Yeah.
But I like to go and do and see and get out and have fun. So the next morning after our off-grid first night, we went and hiked to Lincoln's Lake, which is in Independence Pass, which is rated in a lot of different places as the prettiest drive in Colorado, and I can see why, because you spend a lot of time above tree line, and there's a lot of snow this year, so that was cool. We hiked to Lincoln's Lake, which is a 1.6 round, but you gain like, I don't know, 700-800 feet of elevation or something like that. So it was kind of tough, especially for two sick dogs like Cassie and I were.
Yeah.
But got up there, found mountain goat hair around the lake.
Oh.
Yeah, that was cool. Lake was like
cool.
90% frozen still. So that was the story for most of the lakes in Colorado.
So did you fish it?
I brought my rod and everything.
It's too much ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw one dead trout in the water. So I don't know if it died in ice up or if somebody caught it and it died.
Yeah.
But this wasn't worth trying too much. And we were kind of just having fun, just chilling. And we're like at 12:3, so, too much activity isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
No, it was fun, though. So there's mountain goats around. We couldn't spot any. Well, say that. I only had my Tim 42s, and I saw some things that looked like goats, but, you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So hiked down from there. Oh, we met, like, there's dogs on trails a lot. Like, people let their dogs loose or whatever. This dog was real friendly, came up and saw us. And we're kind of messing with it. I knew his name because the guy was yelling, Kimba, the whole time. And then, so Kimba comes up, talks to us for a second, and then it runs off and then jumps in the lake. And I'm like, that dog is fixing to die. So that was kind of funny. But it made it out okay.
Yeah.
So from there, you and I discussed this. Like, I was really going to try to catch some greenbacks on this trip. The Leadville National Fish Hatchery is there in Leadville. Huh, can you imagine? But, I guess they put greenbacks in some of those streams there, like way back, and it's considered like native. They call them native, which I guess, whatever. Went and fished, I guess there's the Holy Cross Wilderness for greenbacks, and fished some great water. Never even got a look for like
There's
2 hours.
Colorado's in the Holy Cross, too.
I can see that, but it's probably the other side of the...
I don't have a clue. Yeah. I just know that's where I caught my Colorado.
Did you?
Was in the Holy Cross, yeah.
We were in the frying pan for the other lake, too, so I spent time in 2 wilderness areas. That was cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, and actually, no, I didn't. Never mind. I almost made it to Sangre de Cristo Wilderness, but we never got out of the truck. But anyways, so... Yeah, we fished for like 2 hours, some killer-looking native trout water, and didn't get a look.
Really?
Man. This water was too swift.
Yeah.
And I just feel like they just got their heads down in a hole, know, and I didn't fish any nymphs because, man, there's a time whenever, like, nymphs are tough.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. I guess you could free line a single nymph in there, but I don't know. It's just not my favorite type of fishing. Like, if I'm in there in little native trout water, I want to catch them on a dry fly, tell you the truth. That's just what's fun.
I know. That's how I was, too. I mean, I used a dry dropper quite a bit.
Yeah.
But almost everything I caught was on a dry.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I had a dropper on.
Yeah.
I rarely caught them on a dropper.
But, so went home that night, finished Stranger Things Season 3, which that was kind of an interesting thing for an off-grid cabin. We had internet, so we could watch Netflix. And then the next morning, got up, was feeling kind of bad, but loaded up, and then we headed south, kind of with plans to camp somewhere near like Westcliff or Natura or whatever that is down there. Anyways, so we I had like another spot picked out for greenbacks I was going to hit, which is Hayden Creek, which is like a place that they've used for restocking from other places. It's like a tributary of the Arkansas. They had a fire there in 2014, I think, and like kind of like they were worried about it destroying habitat, but supposedly they were fine. Go in there and fished for quite a while with Cassie, kind of following me around, filming me, and she finally kind of got tired of it because there's just so much you can look at a guy just waving his arm around and at little bitty holes in the river before you get tired of it, which I understand. So we go back down, go to the truck, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop at this hole further down the river right quick. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to stay in the truck. I was like, that's fine. So go down, and as soon as I cast, my little parachute Adam's in there. Boop. Missed it. Still good. That's my chance. I actually didn't miss it. He felt the hook, and he got off.
Yeah.
It looked like a greenback. I don't know, but it looked like one. So I continued to fish for another 15 minutes, and I'm like on my desperation cast, I'm about to walk back to the truck, but there's one spot. So hit it, bloop, hang the fish. I'm like, yes! Go to reel the fish in. It's got like that green hue to it and everything. Like, this is awesome. And then it comes off right at the bank.
Oh, no.
But it's in a little side creek, so I still technically have the fish. I can see it right there. I net it. It's a brown. After all that, it's a brown. Oh, man. And that was kind of like the motif of the trip. Anywhere I thought that I was going to find like native fish, it was wild browns.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of browns in Colorado, I feel like.
There is. There's a whole lot of them, which they're pretty. I like them.
Yeah.
But it was like, I was pretty disappointed in that one, to tell you the truth. He's pretty fish. But anyways, we leave there. After that, I was kind of disappointed, so I just left. And I'm like, okay, I guess I just won't catch my greenback on this trip. Went to West Cliff and ate, and then we're trying to deliberate where we're going to stay that evening, and there's some campgrounds up here right on the Sangre de Cristo. I'm like, we're going to try one of those out. We drive up one of these, like, crazy mountain roads we probably shouldn't drive, get to a point where we can't go any further, and we're not anywhere near where I want to be. So we turn around, go to a different one, and go pretty high and find some, like, legit water. And I fish it for, like, 2 hours and never get a look.
Dang, man.
Tough, dude. I'm telling you, it's tough. And I'm talking about, like, I wasn't fishing like stupid flies. I mean, I had, like, size 12, 14 parachute Adam, stuff that they should be eating.
Yeah.
No looks. I guess it's just because it was so swift. The water was clear, but it's just probably a lot higher than what they're used to, you know. And I don't know if maybe they're down lower. I need to do more research on what they do, but I just always think native fish are high, and they weren't. So from there, trout fishing was officially over. And
it's a sad feeling, dude.
It is a sad feeling. And we decide to, you know what? It's like kind of a couple hours left of daylight. Let's just go wildlife looking. So we just drive through the valley a whole lot and see a whole bunch of mule deer. It's really cool because there were some hay fields in the valley, and I see a black thing out there. I put my binos on it, and it's fuzzy antlers. It's that situation where those bucks think they're hidden, but actually their antlers are sticking up above the hay.
Really?
I go to look around, and in this, like, quarter section, there's probably 5 or 6 bucks out there doing this. One of which might be a 200.
Oh, my goodness.
He's a giant.
Did you get some footage?
Yeah, but he's pretty far off, but I got some footage. Like, you'll be able to tell. It's not like, oh, wow, beautiful, you know, but it's like, gosh, that's a big deer.
Dude.
Yeah, that was cool.
So what were they in? What were they bedded in?
That's hay pasture.
Just hay?
I don't know what that stuff's called, but it's got like a little head on it, and it doesn't look like weed. It kind of looks like nutgrass or rush or something, but they cut it for hay. I don't know what it is, but dude, there's like deer going everywhere, and there's a big one out there. I was like, oh, Wally, that's cool. But
it's crazy.
I don't know. It was cool. But then we started driving around, ended up finding a herd of elk out in the same kind of stuff, and I started calling to them out of the truck, and like they came to me. It was weird. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, a bunch of cows. I gave them that whole like lost cow mew.
Yeah,
and they're like, you know, they didn't come like up to the truck, but they came real close.
Yeah,
and that was cool. And then we went further down and went to turn into this one place to go maybe check out and see if there's a campground there. And turned in, and I was just telling Cassie, man, I didn't see any good like mule deer bucks up close. Turn in, and these 3 bucks stand up from the stop sign pretty much like 10 yards away and just look at it. It's like, oh, perfect. That's what I needed to finish out Colorado.
There you do.
And so that was cool. Got the footage of those. And then made it to Lathrop Campground, which I've stayed in before. Pull in. It's getting dark. See a sign that says campground full. Oh, no, this is the last campground I know of in Colorado. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So when things go bad, you head to Taco Bell. We went to Taco Bell and got some Taco Bell. That was nice. The one you've eaten at before.
Uh-huh.
Then Cassie and I decided, you know what? I'm not too tired. So we drive all the way to Texas that night and stayed in Rita Blanca National Grasslands because I knew there'd be a place to stay there.
Yeah.
And that was a long night. I actually kind of rekindled my love for dubstep that night. So listened to a lot of dubstep that night.
Cool.
And then we got up the next morning, drove around, and saw a bunch of pronghorns in Texas, which is always cool. Something about a Texas pronghorn is neat to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, drove home. But that's the story of our trip. It was there's a lot of crazy things. Pretty much kind of the overview is that, like, my sickness, Cassie and I's sickness both kind of impaired a lot of what we were wanting to do and kind of restricted us. That and the astounding amount of snow and runoff that's still in Colorado.
Yeah,
but
stinks, man.
Fun trip, though, man. Like,
that's good.
I know that, like, it didn't go as good as we want. Not as good. What's the right word? Just, like, didn't go as planned, but we still had a great time. Yeah. So that's what matters.
It's cool. Well, my takeaway is that don't eat Mexican food outside of Texas. We pretty much, like, we had Mexican food in Winslow, Arizona, and we said no more until we get back to Texas. Yeah. So last night I went to El Mana.
It looked good.
Or after church, I did. Yeah. And then we're hitting Gorditas up pretty soon, pretty quick here.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a couple of really cool trips that we got to go on, man. And,
cool.
And I know this is long-winded, but we are not far from hunting season.
No, sir.
Like, there's just so many things I need to do. You've kind of got the heads up on me on as far as, like, gear you've been buying a little bit to get ready for that trip. And,
I bought a Stone Glacier pack too.
Yeah.
That I used a T9C bit more just to make sure I used it and to see what I liked about it. And I like it a lot. It's I think it's the Sky Archer 6200.
Yeah.
Is what I bought, and it's cool.
Well, I need to get a pack. I need to get a tent and some couple other things. We need some probably camera batteries and SD cards and that kind of thing, gearing up for the elk hunt. And then I've been doing a lot of research on the whitetail game because I'm really excited. I got a couple of really cool tags this year.
Finally.
So
drew the Iowa tag.
Finally, dude. 6 years.
Man.
Which I missed 1 year putting in.
Yeah.
But
it's all right. Still 6 years of anticipation.
Yeah. Yep. So trying to find a way to manage my expectations, but also to, like, live up to the fact that it took me 6 years of anticipation to put in. So, like, I want to shoot a good deer, like that's kind of the goal of it. Don't have a lot of meat, so I'm pretty excited about the doe tag there. You talk about some big corn-fed does,
Yeah, for real.
There's that, and then just all the research that's going into it right now as far as, like, trying to find. I'm still kind of debating on, like, do I spend 4 hours, trying to get permissions, or do I spend 4 hours, like, trying to find the best spot on a public piece or something, you know? So that's kind of one thing I'm debating right now. And I don't know this for a fact, but I bet you I'll spend a few hours trying to call people, if nothing else. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to go up there this summer before. So
no, it's kind of, things are moving rapidly.
They are. I mean, like, I got back, and it was weird coming home, dude, being gone for a month. Got back. Found a scorpion in my sink, a brown recluse in the shoes, and that was a pretty fun night of sleep.
Set a bomb off in here?
We haven't, but I think those are the only two as far as I know. So anyway, when I got back and I started looking around the next day, when it got light, I was like, man, this is like the time of year that we should be running cameras and getting ready for deer season, and we haven't put anything out yet. So it's time.
Yeah.
And that makes me excited. It also makes me a little bit anxious because I know there's a lot to do. And more than anything, just anxious about, like, some of the gear things that I have to buy and And I know, like, the trip that I just went on, we spent a lot of money, and we're going to be laying that out in the budget and everything. But, just want to make sure that, like, going into hunting season, I can still go on trips.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Because we got some out of state tags, man. So it's exciting. Have you been putting any more map scouting into the Gila?
No, I haven't. I've kind of gotten to the point where I've looked at a place that I've never been to enough that I kind of know everything I think I'm going to know from the map.
Yeah, until you get some feet on the ground.
Yeah, I kind of have gotten to the point where I just say, you know what, that looks pretty good. Let's just go elk hunting.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, I just think I need to either try to make it down in August or just to get ready to just get after it when we go, and I'm okay with that. Like, I think that there's just so much you can plot out, Like, what you really need to do is get down there and hit a contact bugle and see what's out there, So that's kind of where I'm at on that. I'm excited about it still. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, I don't know, the unit's only so big. I'll take that back. I have looked at a different section of the unit, just kind of thinking about, okay, if I need a backup area or whatever, let's figure that out. Yeah. So, maybe a little bit. But
have you looked? Do you know for sure that where we're at, there's going to be running water?
Pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, the YouTube videos and stuff has been real.
Where I was at, it was really thin already in June.
Yeah, you're like still quite a bit further south from where I'm planning on going and hunting.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I
thought that I'm also downriver, so I was thinking.
So where we're actually talking about at least leaving our trailhead is actually going to feed the middle fork of the Gila, I believe. So different section of the river.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So bigger river.
And there's also some springs up there that I think actually dry out before they make it down somewhere. So some places to get water and stuff.
Cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting, man.
I think, and that's actually the more important kind of map scouting stuff is like where we're going to sleep and where we're going to stay and what's feasible to actually travel. I think that the elk will just happen.
Yeah.
As long as you're covering ground. But like the logistic stuff, I think is probably what's more important. So
yeah. Cool. Yeah. I'm excited, man.
Me too, man. That's our next hunt, you know? Unless I get some depredation permits for these deer that are eating my watermelons.
Yeah. Well, I've been still thinking about some early season deer hunting. I don't know.
Yeah?
Don't know.
Fancy.
We'll see, man. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's not going to have a whole lot of time to do it, but maybe able to find a cheap tag and go do it. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
Just been thinking about it. It really just depends on, now that we're home, how much money we saved, how much money's in our cash envelope at the end of the trip and all that. So, but I'm pretty excited about deer season.
Me too, dude. I'm pumped. I can't wait.
It.
I need to get some arrows, actually, which is kind of scary because I usually like to have that kind of stuff ironed out this far into summer, but just hadn't happened for me. So I got to get that done.
I mean, we're here, man. And,
I know.
And I'm in the same boat, kind of I need to start shooting my bow a little bit more and because I got a new bow and new to me. And so I need to just make sure it's tuned. Probably might need to slide by Richards sometime and just let him look at it, see what he thinks, and then
it's
go.
Matthews. That's what he's going to tell you.
Probably. Yeah, but so we're gonna now that it's our fishing stuff is over and we gave the fishing report today. It's pretty much just hunting stuff from here on out. So we're looking at. I mean, as far as videos and stuff, the trips are gonna we'll release some of that stuff and then. There will be some gear reviews and stuff that we've been wanting to do since last season, but just been so busy, man. And so we're gonna put some of those together and keep those element evals going for those people who like them, which they've been well received. And just kind of gear up and get ready. We need to get some trail cameras out. And
speaking of gear, we're gonna do a gear giveaway. Pretty soon.
Yeah,
and it's actually.
That.
Might be the biggest giveaway that we ever really done for stuff. And we don't like to have a running thing like this, because it kind of gets old. We're going to give you something, and it's like, oh, thanks for the 3 paper clips. But I think we've got twofold. Season's fixing to kick off, and also, we just hit a big benchmark while we were both on vacation, and that's the 100,000 download mark all time. That's pretty cool. Thanks for listening, guys. We really appreciate that. Thanks for the reviews you've given us. That helps us to get to that point. And just so you know, that's what we'll be doing the giveaway for this time around. So just take this as the first teaser, the first plug. Anyone who's ever left us a review from here on out is eligible for these giveaways. So if you've left a review before and you're like, dadgummit, I didn't win that last thing and now I'm not in it. Well, you are.
Yep.
So from day one until now, you get a entry for a review. So go and leave us some iTunes reviews. Actually, it's not iTunes anymore, right? Apple Podcasts.
Apple
They did
Podcasts.
away with iTunes or something. I don't really know.
Either that or it's about to be. But it's Apple Podcasts. But you can give us a review on that platform if you listen through there. Otherwise, is there other ways to give reviews for the podcast?
I don't think Podbean has reviews. They have comments or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, if nothing else, you can go find somebody that has a Apple product.
Yeah, that's right. If you figure out another way to leave us a review, do that and just send us a message telling us where you gave us that review.
Sure,
we'll put you in because I don't really know if Stitcher or Spotify or they have that, but it's okay.
So that's your entry. We've got several things we're going to give away, and we've already got some of them lined up. We're figuring out the last few things, last few details of the giveaway.
Pretty optical opportunity here, I think.
So optimal and optical. That's on the docket for you guys who want to try to win something cool, and we'll reveal that stuff next week. We just literally got in this weekend, did church yesterday, and then called each other this morning, and we're like, hey, we probably should do something work-wise. So we haven't been able to communicate and pull it all together yet, so sorry about that, but it will be released soon. We've got Backcountry series coming up, still releasing several episodes. You'll like this week's, I think. Pretty experienced guy. And then we're going to try to get back on a regular scheduling and talking some deer and that kind of thing. I think you'll like some of the guests we got coming up.
Pretty good whitetail stuff coming up, which I feel like it's been a long time since we talked whitetail.
Oh, dude.
It'll be kind of exciting.
We had some good guests, I think in June, but we've been so fly fishing.
I know.
So much fly fishing.
I know. It's not bad, though.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. But anyway, make sure to leave a review and you'll be in the running. If you have been listening to the Backcountry podcast, feel free to. We've had some great response on that. I appreciate you guys doing that because it was a lot of work putting it together, and it means a lot that you guys appreciate it. But at the same time, we got a ton of good information from the Backcountry guests ourselves. So anyway, anything else, man?
That's all I know, man. Yeah, I'm ready to actually dive into this stuff. So maybe we should get off the podcast and just talk some more whitetails.
I'm all good with that. Yeah, we got to talk the secret stuff y'all can't hear about. Right. So anyway, God bless you guys. Remember, this is your element.
Living it.